Hey guys, we are in the kitchen today because I need to get some batch cooking done. We are going to be focusing on breakfasts, like small snack type meals, and lunches, kind of like individual personal lunches. And there's a reason behind the focus on these things today, which I'll get into in a bit. But I did get started earlier this morning doing a few prep things. So let's go back and take a look at that. And then when we're done, I will let you know what we are going to be cooking today.
Just a quick look at the ingredients we are going to be using today. There actually are a few things missing, but you get a gist of the idea. First thing we needed to get started on was our refried beans. This is an Instapot recipe, which was great, could all be done in the Instapot. Follow the recipe pretty much exactly. I did add in some white wine and a couple pats of butter, but otherwise it was a fantastic recipe and this turned out amazing. Just needed to go in the pot for 45 minutes and then was done. For Christmas, I got a new KitchenAid attachment, which is the food processor. Was still trying to figure out how to use it exactly, but did figure it out. And we are just going to get our cheese grated up. We are using several recipes need cheese, so I wanted to have that all prepped and ready to go. We're using cheddar and mozzarella. I did put the mozzarella into the freezer. It just is a little bit easier to grate if it's slightly frozen. But started with the cheddar, got that done, and here is our mozzarella. The next thing I needed to get started was our sourdough for our bread doughs. I started with a batch for sourdough baguettes, and then this is a batch of sourdough pizza dough. And while it is getting kneaded, I fed my sourdough starter, so it will be all ready to go for next time. Our pizza dough turned out fantastic, just getting some oil in the bowl and setting it aside to rise. And then I wanted to do a quick reset on the kitchen and get some dirty dishes cleaned up and out of the way. The great thing about the food processor attachment is it's super easy to clean, which is fantastic.
So as you saw, I got started on some beans, and this is an effort to make my own refried beans. And I made way more than we're gonna actually use today. But I discovered recently, oh my gosh, they smell so good. Oh, wow. Anyway, I discovered recently that refried beans, what do? They freeze really, really well. So I made a huge batch of it and we're gonna put a bunch of it in the freezer. And then the other things that we are going to be working on, for breakfast, we're gonna do some egg cups, like egg muffins. So some hash browns, cheese, bacon, and eggs. Gonna do some breakfast burritos. And then I was watching somebody the other day that made these banana pancakes, which you make mostly with banana and egg, just a little bit of flour. So those sounded really good. And then for like lunches, snack type things, we're going to do some mini lasagnas. So I'm just gonna do them in muffin tins again. Some mini quiches in puff pastry. I'm trying to read my writing here. Some burrito bowls, some taquitos that are like hot wings taquitos. So chicken, cream cheese, and Frank's hot sauce. Some mac and cheese, like little one-person servings, some cheddar, herb, and sausage biscuits, some pizza muffins, and let's see, what was my last? Oh, and then I just want to put together a bunch of Ritz crackers with peanut butter on them so they're easy and quick to grab. So that is what we are working on today. None of these, except for the refried beans, actually have recipes. I will just be making them up, I think. The banana pancakes, I will link her recipe for those, but otherwise I'm basically making this all up. But first things we need to do, and the other thing we did was we got our dough ready. for our pizza rolls, our pizza muffins, whatever we want to call them. And then I also started a thing of sourdough to make some baguettes with. That's just to put in the freezer. And, oh, and we shredded up all of our cheese. So I think those are kind of all like the big prep things that we needed to do. I do need to get some chicken in the oven for both our burrito bowls and our taquitos, and some Italian sausage and some breakfast sausage all cooked up. So let us finish up with the beans, and then we will get the meat in the oven. Actually, I changed my mind. We are going to get the meat cooking first, so it is doing something while we take care of the beans, which can just sit there for the moment. First, I need to fill up my olive oil bottle here. Should have done this before. I also discovered that you might have seen my flour was empty and my salt was empty. Yeah, I didn't really prepare very well for this other than taking meat out of the freezer. But that is the other thing that I did do. I did actually take all of the frozen meats that we're going to be using out of the refrigerator last night, and I had them on the counter for a couple of hours, and then I just stuck them out in the garage, which is basically at 32 degrees, which is freezing, which is colder than a refrigerator, I believe. Yeah, it's colder than a refrigerator. Okay, this is filled up. I'm going to grab the chicken and the sausages, and we will get busy on those. Okay, maybe I should not have kept them out in the garage. The chicken is still a lot frozen, but I think that's okay, because I'm going to cut it up into strips, and so it's, yeah, it should be fine. All right, but let's get our two sausages in pans and cooking first. All right, so the Italian sausage is in. Just plop that in here. And we'll just break this up a little bit. It's still a little bit icy as well, but that's not a problem. So we're only using this for the lasagna cups, although we might use a little bit in our pizza rolls too if we have some left. But I don't think we will. I think we'll probably use it all for our lasagna cups. All right, we're gonna let this sit here and get nice and browned on one side, and then we will flip it over. But for our breakfast sausage, we actually are going to be using this in several recipes. So I'm going to do 2 of them. And I had grand intentions of making my own breakfast sausage, but I did not get to it. So we're still going to use store-bought. However, I do have the pork shoulders to do it. So hopefully soon. And the other great thing is, even if I don't use all of this in the recipes today, I can just put it in a freezer bag and have it in the freezer for later. Alright, lighting isn't great, sorry about that. I get a lot of sun through this window right here. Somebody mentioned to me that it would be a good idea to put a damp paper towel, or in this place, a washcloth, under these plastic boards that I like to use for cutting like meats and onions, so I'm not cutting it on my wood. And I know it's something that I should be doing, and I hardly ever do it, but she reminded me, so I'm going to start doing it again. Let's see. And I'm super simply going to season this with salt and pepper and just bake it as is, and then I will flavor it after it's cooked for each of the individual things. Let's see if I can get these apart. There we go. Perfect. So these are just chicken breasts, nothing fancy. And like I said, I'm just going to cut them up into strips. I'll probably cut them even smaller once they're cooked, but this is quick and easy right now. And this way, especially since they are frozen, they'll just all cook at the same rate. And I won't have, you know, one big thick end taking forever to cook and the other thin ends already being done. And it's always a great idea to do dishes that use the same ingredients. Because I thought about doing ground beef for the burritos, or for the, for the burrito bowls. And I was like, you know what, I'm already going to be cooking chicken, so why don't I just use all chicken? It's one less thing I have to thaw, one less thing that has to be pre-cooked. Give my hands and knife a little wash here. We usually get our meat from Butcher Box, the majority of our meat, which is a delivery service, and it's organic, and like the beef is grass-fed. But we don't eat very many chicken breasts, so these are just ones I grabbed at Costco the last time I was there. Hope this all fits on one pan. Don't think it's going to. I typically prefer to cook with chicken thighs just because they are much more forgiving about being overcooked. Because even if you kind of overcook them, they're not going to be dry as dust like a chicken breast is. The last couple pieces on. Perfect. All right, gonna wash my hands and then get that in the oven. Actually, before I put it in the oven, I do want to season it and put some olive oil on. Let me move this out of the way. Need to spray that before we do more stuff on here. All right, olive oil. And then, you know what, a little garlic powder will be fine for both recipes, so I'm going to grab that really quick. So my phone is going off saying time to eat, and this is actually the reason for doing this batch cooking. But let's get our garlic on here, and I'm going to do some onion powder too. Oh dear, that was a little much. All right, this is gonna go in the oven just like this. I would guess maybe 10 minutes, maybe a little longer because they are frozen still in the middle. So my oven is on 365. So actually, I was planning to cook the sausages and chicken before I went on a errand this afternoon, but now they are getting done, so that is fine. Oh, I need the recipe for this. Just 1 second. All right, so this recipe comes from wellplated.com, and all we did was put in all of the stuff that you saw and cooked on manual high for 45 minutes and then let it just vent naturally. So next we need to discard the bay leaves, reserve 2 cups of the liquid and drain the remainder, and then with an immersion blender or by hand, puree the beans until they get to the consistency that I want. All right, that sounds easy enough. All right, get a couple cups of the liquid. Okay, well that's only a cup. Maybe I will strain it into a bowl. All right, that's the rest of the liquid. And I actually like my beans to be somewhat chunky, so I think I'm just going to use a hand potato masher instead of the immersion blender. I did leave a little bit of the liquid in there, so I'll start with that. See where we get. I don't think I'm going to need to add any liquid though. No, definitely don't need to add liquid. So the only thing about this recipe is she doesn't talk about the refried part. And maybe it's always just been my assumption that after the beans are cooked and you mash them up, they actually get cooked again. Because that's kind of what refried means. I don't know. So I'm going to have to look that up. Actually, I think I'm going to be good with this texture. Yeah, this is perfect. I do want to give it a taste though, for seasoning. That's really good. It needs a little more salt, but other than that, this does not need anything. Oh, yum. All right, added maybe, I don't know, 2 teaspoons of salt. This is a lot of beans. It's a whole pound of beans, so try it again. Perfect. Wow, these are so good. Okay, I'm just gonna cover this for now, set it out in the garage, because I don't have any room in my refrigerator, and the garage is fine. It's nice and cold. I do, however, I kind of hate to waste this broth. It's like super rich and beautiful. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe I'll freeze it. Because I'm not, I'd have to pressure can it if I was going to can it, and I don't want to do that right now. But should freeze just fine. All right, let's look at our list. So we have the refried beans done. I was going to cook rice, but I found some in the freezer when I was cleaning it out yesterday. So I will use the frozen stuff. Italian sausage is cooked. Refried beans, rice, sausage, shred cheddar, shred mozz. Got all of this. Chicken breast. Okay, I need to get the bananas out of the freezer, but they will thaw really quickly. So I'm not concerned with that. I think the next thing we need to do is the bechamel sauce and get a bunch of eggs scrambled up for several of our recipes. So I'm thinking let's get the bechamel started and then do the eggs. And then I think we should be able to start putting things together. All right, the bechamel is going to be used for both the lasagna and the mac and cheese cups. So we need to make a fairly decent amount of it. Okay, I don't want my knives. Knives are all messed up here. It's fine. So typically when you make a bechamel or a white sauce, you do equal parts, not equal parts. You do for 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 cup of milk, and 1 tablespoon of flour. So I'm thinking I want to do 3 cups of milk. So we are going to do 3 tablespoons of butter and 3 tablespoons of flour. But first, I'm going to get this melting, but I want to get an onion cut up and sauteed in there first. Just adds some excellent flavor, I have found. Help if I turned the heat on, however. I do cut these pretty finely. It's just, I don't know, it's a me thing, I guess, that I'm not big on chunky things in my sauces. So like I don't like a chunky marinara sauce or pizza sauce. I don't want big chunks of onion or tomato in my white sauce. Adding onions, I don't want a bunch of big huge pieces of onion. Yeah, I just prefer it. Must be a texture thing. What about you guys? Do you have you prefer chunky or, oh, salsas, that's the other thing. I don't like chunky salsas. I like them to be fairly smooth. Unless it's a pico. Pico or like bruschetta. I like those to be chunky. So I'm gonna just let these saute in here for a bit. And then till they're nice and translucent, and then we will add the flour to it. In the meantime, however, I've discovered a little trick that if you warm your milk up in the microwave for a bit before you put it in with your flour and butter, it takes much less time to come up to a boil. So I usually put it in for, well, this much milk I'll probably do a minute 30. I don't want it to be boiling, but I want it to be pretty warm. I am also going to go ahead and put a little bit of salt on the onions right now, but we will add more seasoning later. Actually, while we're waiting for the onions to go, I thought we should do a quick stretch and pull on our sourdough. Our pizza dough, we kneaded it already in the mixer, so it's just gonna sit there and raise till we need it. But let's do the stretch and fold for our baguettes. So I did add a tablespoon of salt after the first couple of hours of it rising. It's just recommended to wait to add the salt so it can kind of get started, because salt inhibits yeast. So I did that about an hour ago. So this is going to be the first stretch and fold. And that's literally all you do. You just lift it up and put it in the middle. Go all the way around. And the water just helps, because this is a fairly hydrated dough. The water just helps your hands not to stick. Because flour does not work with this kind of dough, let me tell you. And then I like to just flip it over, cover it back up, and in another hour we'll do the same thing. Well, we'll do that 2 more times. And then this will actually sit overnight and get baked tomorrow. Our onions are nice and soft and getting a little golden color to them, so that's perfect. So now we're just going to add 3 tablespoons of flour. And basically, the more flour you add, the thicker this will get. And I don't want this to be very thick, especially since it's going to end up getting cooked twice, once today, and then once when I reheat it to eat. So I want it to have quite a bit of liquid in it. So we're just going to let this flour cook for about a minute, and that just cooks off the raw flour flavor, and then we will get the milk in. I'm going to use a whisk for this next part. And you just want to slowly pour your milk in, whisking as you go. There we go. And then we are just going to let this come up to a boil. Pretty much stirring constantly, because this will very easily scorch on the bottom of your pan. And nobody wants burnt bechamel. Blech. I'm going to add a good amount of black pepper. and probably about a teaspoon and a half of salt. A lot of people add a little bit of ground nutmeg to their bechamel sauces, but I can always taste it, the flavor of it, and I just don't like it. So I have never done that. We are at a boil. I'm just gonna let it boil for a little bit here to get up to the full amount of thickness. And then we are just gonna set this to the side for right now as well. I definitely want it to be cool for the lasagna cups because it'll be way easier to put together. But I will have to reheat it for the mac and cheese so I can melt the cheddar in it. But for now, we will just leave it as it is. All right, I think that is great. And this might seem a little thin to you. And the first time that I did this, I used to make my bechamel much thicker for mac and cheese, but I've just learned that my mac and cheese stays creamier once it's been reheated if you have a thinner sauce like this. You start with a thinner sauce. And plus the cheese will thicken it quite a bit too. All right, we're gonna just cover this and put it to the side. All right, I think we are going to start something and finish it, or get it in the oven to be finished completely, instead of all these little steps in between that we've been doing. And this is just going to be our little mini quiches. Actually, before we do this, we should mix up the egg mixture. Well, let me grab the eggs and stuff for that. We are going to use this little mini muffin tin for these. But I think I might try and make 2 batches, because my guess would be, like, if I ate one for snack, I'd probably eat 2 of them. So let's start with like 9 eggs. And as you can see, these are not from my girls. They are not yet laying again. I don't have any artificial light in their coop and run, and very, very cold temperatures would definitely inhibit them as well. But I don't mind giving them a break. All right, and then we're just gonna add probably about a cup of cream. And some thyme. I'm going to keep this fairly simple. Pepper. And some salt, about a teaspoon, because I'm putting ham in this, and the ham is pretty salty. Let's get these mixed up first, and then I'll add the ham. And then my plan is to put just a little dollop of cream cheese on each of them after they are in their little cups. All right, then we're just gonna add our ham in. All right, now let's get our puff pastry ready to go. All right, so I have a couple of packages of puff pastry I found in the freezer. I have no idea how old they are, but I think it'll be okay. And you absolutely could just use them as is, but they go further if you actually roll them out of it. And these have just been in the refrigerator for the last day. So they are nice and thawed. Oh, this one's actually really big. So I'm not gonna roll this one out much, but make it a little bit bigger. Give our little guys here a good spray. I made the mistake once of thinking that because puff pastry is full of butter that they wouldn't stick. Yeah, I ruined my little mini muffin tin that time. So we won't be doing that again. All right, let's see. I'm just gonna guess this. That seems a little big. They do not have to be exact. All right. Then we're just going to press them into our little tins here, like so. So the corners are kind of sticking up. And then we'll pour in our quiche mixture. I'm not sure why that is so difficult to say. All right, I don't want these to get warm, so I'm gonna put them on a plate and put them in the fridge and put these other guys back in the fridge as well. You don't want puff pastry to get warm because then the butter melts and you won't get your flaky layers. Sorry, Madeline hears the neighbor dogs barking and she wants to join in. Mix this up a little bit here, and then I think I'm going to use my measuring cup that has a spout to pour in here. Just think it will be a bit easier to not make a mess this way. Oop. Oh my goodness, and then I just poured way too much. Because these will puff up, so you don't want them to be overly full. So I'm just going to take a knife here and do little dabs of cream cheese. I normally would put Swiss cheese in this, but somehow I did not manage to get that. Did I miss this one or did it sink? Well, maybe I'll just have a little extra. All right, these can go into the oven now, and except that I'm probably gonna make another batch because I still have plenty of the quiche mixture, but we will have at least one thing mostly done. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. I actually have bacon in the oven right now, just a whole packet of it cooking up because I'm going to use that in one of my other recipes. And I just had the oven on 365 still, so I did bump it up to 425. Puff pastry tends to do a little bit better at higher heats. Actually, you know what? I'm going to bump it up to 435. Yeah, I'm going to do 435. All right, I have taken our chicken that looks lovely, and I chopped it in fairly small pieces for the taquitos. And all we're going to do is add this half a block of cream cheese and some franks. Might use the rest of this bottle. Yep. Might even need a little bit more. Might actually need a little bit more cream cheese too, but let's start with that. Just gonna mix this together. David and I absolutely love wings, hot wings. buffalo wings, whatever you want to call them. So I thought this would be a good, I don't know, mashup in a tortilla. I do not, however, like blue cheese at all, so there will be no blue cheese. That's why we're using cream cheese. Oops. And I could do ranch, and I have ranch, but I don't know, this just sounded better. All right, I actually think that is plenty. Honestly, probably I'll dip it in ranch when they are cooked. All right, let's get this out of the way here. And we are just going to start rolling these up. And then my plan is just that when I'm just going to freeze them like this, and when I pull them out, I can either put it in the toaster oven or put it in a frying pan and fry it up real quick, pan fry it for a quick lunch. So I guess I never have talked about the reason behind all of this. So it's a long story, and I will try to keep this part of it very short, but I used to weigh a lot more than I do right now. And I had gastric bypass about, oh gosh, 15, 16 years ago now, a little over 16 years ago. And it worked great. I lost weight, but then I very quickly discovered that it was incredibly hard to keep it off. No matter what I did, how little I ate. Anyway, again, long story short, I met a doctor who specializes in fixing metabolisms, because that's basically what was wrong. I had a very broken metabolism from years and years of yo-yo dieting. And so with her big thing for me is that I don't eat enough. By far, I don't eat enough. My body actually thinks that I'm starving most of the time. And so I keep telling her when I see her that, oh, but I feel like I eat all the time. So this last time I saw her, she said, you know what, why don't you try setting alarms? Because she wants me to eat 6 times a day. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Well, it turns out I was not eating enough, because now that I have alarms telling me to eat 6 times a day, I realize how little I actually was eating. So the problem is when I'm working, I don't want to like take time to go fix even a snack. It's just, I don't know, I just don't have time to do that usually. So these are going to be really quick things that I can pull out and reheat or heat or cook or whatever for snacks and meals. And I would be happy to go into more detail about my weight loss journey if that's something that is of interest to folks. I am not shy about talking about it. All right, I thought made a good amount. Now I'm just gonna flash freeze these on a pan like they are right now, and then I'll put them in a plastic bag and we'll be good. Another one down. We have our beautiful little quiches coming out. Aren't they lovely? We are gonna do another batch of these for sure though. Just gonna set them over there to cool for a little bit, then I'll put them on a cooling rack to cool all the way. But in the meantime, now we are going to start on our burrito bowls. So I want to season up the chicken for a more, I don't know, Mexican flavor. Yeah, Mexican flavor. Actually, I just thought of one more ingredient that I want to add. A little bit of lime juice, I think would be excellent. And this is our rice, just getting it thawed out. There we go. Let's put that And this is actually what we are going to have for dinner tonight as well. So let's get some seasonings in here. I'm not going to go too crazy because we'll put hot sauce on them, or a little bit more salsa. But I do want to give it a little bit. Oh, so that was oregano. Maybe a teaspoon and about a teaspoon of cumin. And we do a teaspoon and a half of chili powder. I'm just going to put a couple splashes of lime juice. And one more. And get this all mixed in. Yes, I'm using the same spoon I used with the buffalo chicken. I figure it's not going to hurt to have a little buffalo taste, but I'm sure no one will actually taste. All right, let me just taste this, make sure it's okay. That's good. All right, super simple. We are going to, let's bring these over here. Start with rice, put some beans on, put the chicken on, put some cheese, and then like I said, we will probably add salsa, sour cream, that sort of thing when we actually go to heat them up. And I actually really like refried beans, so I'm going to put a decent amount in here. And I'm really the only one that's going to eat these. David typically likes to make his own lunch, or he eats leftovers from the night before, so these do not need to be very large because somebody with a gastric bypass has a small stomach, and I can't eat very much at any one time, which is why I need to be eating 6 times a day. So this would be a decent lunch portion if I kind of eat on it for a little while. I could not eat it all in one sitting. All right. And I love me some cheese, so we are going to be nice and generous with that. One of the funny things that Dr. Cooper, that's my doctor that I see for the metabolism, told me early on is she said you need to be eating more, but you really especially need to be eating more carbohydrates, because that's I've always tried to do. Oh shoot, I think only one of these is an old one. And she said, if you ate a hot fudge sundae every other day, that would be perfect. And well, I would love to do that. The other problem with having got bypass surgery for me was that I cannot handle very much sugar anymore. And here we go. We have 6 more lovely meals, and we have dinner tonight. All right, these, they're all cool, so I'm actually going to put these right into the freezer now as soon as I label them. All right, moving on to one of our breakfast items here. These are going to be our breakfast egg muffin thingies. Not egg McMuffins, egg muffins. And this is going to have eggs, cream, bacon, and hash browns in it. So that was, I didn't even count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eggs. And we'll probably do 3/4 of a cup of cream, a good amount of salt. Well, actually not a ton of salt because I am using the bacon. And pepper. One of the things I did in preparation for this, besides just looking online, was I actually walked up and down the freezer aisle at the store and found all of the, where the places they have all the snacks and lunches and pre-made stuff, right? Not just vegetables and stuff. And just took note of what was there and decided I could make that and freeze it. So that's kind of where some of these came from. These are just frozen hash browns. You absolutely could make your own potatoes, which I did think of doing as well, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of a cheat here. Actually, that is perfect. And last but not least, a little sprinkle of cheese. I love cheese on my lunch and dinner items, but I like it on my breakfast items as well, but not the piles of it that I like on my other meals of the day. Not sure why. Okay. And we are going to put these in the oven as well. Right, our egg muffins are out of the oven and cool, so we're just going to get them out of here because I'm going to need this pan. And right now I have 2 pots of water on to boil, one for the macaroni and cheese, although I'm not actually using macaronis. I think I'm gonna use penne maybe, because I don't have any macaroni. And then another, just the tea kettle is on to boil because I like to use regular lasagna noodles for my lasagna, but I like to, instead of cooking them all the way, I just put them in a pan and then pour boiling water over them and just let them set for a bit until they're basically just pliable enough to handle, and then I can use them. So those are both going over there right now, and then I also have whipped up a batch of this banana kind of pancake recipe. She didn't actually have a recipe for it. I went back and looked. So I kind of made it up from what she did. I think I have about 3.5 cups of smashed bananas in here, and they were just bananas I had smashed up and frozen in bags. And then I put 4 cups of quick cooking oats, 5 eggs, and some cinnamon and ground clove. However, and probably about a 1/2 cup of cream. I'm thinking that I'm just going to pour it in a pan and put it in the oven and let it bake like a big pancake, and then just cut it up. But I do want to just try it in a pan first to make sure that number 1, it tastes good, and number 2, it actually sets up. So I'm going to try that right now just in a frying pan. All right, taking it off the stove. It did set up mostly. I mean, I think it would be fine if it bakes. Oh my gosh, that's really good. I think I might put a little bit more cinnamon in it, but oh Yeah, but I think this will be perfect. Just put in a jelly roll pan and put it in the oven to bake. Oh, yum. Oh, it's perfect. And our hot water is ready for the lasagna noodles. So, sorry, there's wavy all over the place. Let's get that in there. And the one thing you want to make sure is that you have put the noodles in so they're not like directly on top of each other. They're kind of overlapping, otherwise they will stick to each other and make your life very, very difficult. All right, and it looks like our water is boiling for the macaroni, and actually I did find some elbows, so I'm going to use this and maybe fill it out with a little bit of penne. All right, gonna get that in there. All right, I have literally never done this before, so I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but I am using one of my jars of marinara sauce for this. And of course we have our bechamel here. Thinking since the bechamel is nice and thick, maybe we try putting that down first. And then putting a little bit of the meat. I need to be able to roll this up, so I don't want it to be like overstuffed. And a little mozzarella. Okay. And I think I'm going to put the sauce on once they're rolled up and in this thing, in the muffin tin. Ugh. If anybody has ever done this before and has a better idea, please tell me. Oh, no, I think it worked. I mean, it's gonna like kind of splay out a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, no, that works. Awesome. And the reason that I don't, so I let the noodles soak for maybe 10 minutes in the boiling water and then just drained it. And the reason that I don't, I should probably be a little more sparing with the meat here. I don't cook them all the way is that I just end up putting a lot of sauce on it, and that while it's baking, that cooks it the rest of the way. And I just think it kind of allows the noodle to retain some of its more toothsomeness than if you cooked them most of the way through and then baked them. Whoop, whoop. Huh. All right, I've got them all filled and in. I think I'm just gonna put a little bit more cheese on some of these. And actually I had exactly the right amount of meat, which was perfect. And then I'm going to be fairly generous with this sauce because it's going to be, like I said, kind of what helps cook the noodle. I'm sure I could look this up online and somebody would have cooking directions for this, but I'm just gonna wing it. All right, let's put them in the oven, see what happens. They look pretty good though. I just remembered I had planned to chop up some kielbasa to go in this as well. Let's just do this guy. And this is my homemade kielbasa, which I have a video on if you are interested in sausage making at all. They turned out amazing though. Right, get this in there too. Our sauce is looking great, so we are going to get our noodles in here. Maybe. They've been sitting here for a little bit. There we go. Well, I said I wasn't making a whole batch of macaroni and cheese, but apparently I did. Well, let's see how it goes getting it into our muffin tin. And then just spoon it in, I guess. I just realized that I didn't actually taste this, which I really should have. Oh. No, it's perfect. Totally perfect. All right. These are also going in the oven. Normally I would put some cheddar cheese on the top of them, but I am out and I don't want to shred anymore right now. So I'm thinking those maybe go in for 25 minutes-ish. I mean, that's how long, maybe not quite that long since they're in muffin tins. So I'll check them at 15 minutes and see how they're going. All right, my sink is getting full. And I definitely bit off more than I could chew. It is almost 8 o'clock and I still technically have the pizza rolls to do and the breakfast burritos. So, oh, and I think I had like a cheddar sausage biscuit thing too. So those last two things, the breakfast burrito and the sausage biscuit are going to wait, but I do want to get the pizza rolls done. So let's get those on a tray and in the oven. So for our pizza rolls, I thought instead of doing calzones, which is what I usually do, I would do something actually a little easier, which now I'm very glad for. So my plan is just to spread this out a little bit here. And I'm going to plop all of this pepperoni I chopped up on here. And then a goodly amount of the mozzarella. And then we are just going to kind of roll it and massage it a little bit so everything kind of gets mixed in. And I'm just gonna roll them into dinner roll type rolls and put them on a tray. Easy as that. All right, these will need to raise for probably another 45 minutes or so until they're nice and puffy. And then I will just brush the last of this marinara sauce on top of them and sprinkle with a little more cheese. Pop them in the oven. All right, you guys, we do still have our pizza rolls to go, but this is what we got accomplished. So we have 2 bags of the puff pastry quiches. I have a bag of cooked bacon. We have the buffalo chicken wraps. We have our egg, bacon, and potato muffins. And then we have, these just came out of the oven. These are our macaroni and cheese, and these are our lasagnas. I'm not sure this was the best plan for the lasagnas, but, well, we'll see. The bottoms should be tasty anyway. And then of course we have our pizza rolls, which will go in the oven shortly. And then I had pulled this out, but I just put it back in because I want the bottom to get a little more brown. That's our banana oatmeal pancake stuff. So that should be done shortly as well. So I think overall we did pretty good. I will definitely show you how the pizza rolls came out after they come out of the oven, but it will probably be tomorrow. But I just wanted to wrap it up here. Typically this doesn't take so long, and I actually finish everything that I had planned to finish. But like I said, I had to run an errand in the middle of the day today, so that took up a big chunk of hours that normally I would just cook right through the whole day. So this definitely was a full day and would have been if I did the other 2 recipes that we had planned. But it means that I have all kinds of meals and snacks now for several weeks, if not a month. And that is perfect. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little something along with me, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great night. Bye.